All right, first we're gonna make our baking mix. We need 2 cups of flour. The first step is to fluff your flour up, get your dry measuring cup and lightly spoon it in, fill it to heaping, level it off, go ahead and add it to your mixing bowl and do this all again. Next is baking powder. We need a tablespoon, fluff it a little bit, use that straight line, level it off and sprinkle it in with your 2 cups of flour. 1 teaspoon of salt, scoop it, level it, sprinkle it in with the other ingredients. We are going to sift our dry ingredients. In another large mixing bowl, add your sifter in so that the flour doesn't fall everywhere. Go ahead and scoop all of your dry ingredients in, and you want to sift it all. This one has a hand crank, so you can turn it. Another way you can do it is actually just tap the sides. I like that as well. Make sure and get all of your dry ingredients out. If you do find any lumps, throw those in the trash can. Our last ingredient is shortening, so I am taking a large piece of plastic wrap and tucking it into my dry measuring cup. This is going to prevent it from getting all dirty and greasy. With the rubber scraper, press your shortening into the dry measuring cup. You want to try your best to pat out all of the air pockets. Push it all in and then level it off with a straight edge. Now you're going to see that when I go ahead and pull this out, there are still going to be some air pockets where we didn't quite get all the shortening in there. So because of that, I always add just a little bit of extra scoop on top so I make sure I'm getting the right amount. So here you go. You can see there's an air pocket, there's an air pocket. Drop that shortening into the dry ingredients. You're going to take your pastry cutter, pastry blender, same thing, and start working that into the dry ingredients. You need your offset spatula. Sometimes it gets stuck on the side and you can scrape it off. So you want to do a rocking motion, go all the way down, press kind of hard. So there you go. Scrape it off as needed. The goal of this is you want to get pretty much all of that shortening to be in small little lumps. You shouldn't see any big lumps. It should look kind of like a fine sand. Once you are done with that, you are finished with the baking mix step and you can move on to the next. If we're going to do this in a 2-day lab, at this point, you're going to get a Ziploc bag labeled with your name, your kitchen group, and your teacher's name, and add this baking mix into the Ziploc baggie, give it to your teacher. Day 2 biscuit making. We need 4 ingredients to make our biscuits. We need 4 tablespoons or 1/4 of a cup of melted butter. So I'm cutting the stick of butter in half. I'm going to add it to a small bowl. And this butter has been sitting out. It should be room temperature, so we shouldn't need more than 15 seconds. At this point, so you can see I'm stirring it around. It's not quite melted. Add it to the microwave a couple more seconds. You do not want it bubbling hot, just enough where it's runny, just like this. Now we need sour cream. Taking a large piece of plastic wrap, tucking it into your 1/2 cup dry measure. We're going to get this amount of sour cream. Get your rubber scraper, pack it in like we did with the shortening. You're trying to eliminate any air bubbles, so press it in, fill it to heaping, level it off with a straight edge. The back of the rubber scraper is actually a straight edge. And then like before, because there's probably air pockets, add a little bit left on top once you've leveled it off, just to make sure you have the right amount. In a liquid measuring cup, measure 1/2 cup of Sprite. Last ingredient, we only need 2 cups of our baking mix, so measure this the way you would flour. Take it, lightly spoon it into your dry measuring cup, level it off, and pour it into a large mixing bowl. There will be some left from your Ziploc baggie. Do not just pour the whole baggie in there. It's going to be too much and you're going to have dry biscuits. Give the extra to your teacher. We now have our mise en place ready. So in that large mixing bowl, you want to gently add in your melted butter using the rubber scraper, scrape all of it out. Your Sprite, try to pour it evenly over the top. And then the sour cream, unwrap that plastic wrap and plop it right in. Y'all make sure you're actually getting all of it off of the plastic wrap. Mine wasn't too stuck, but a lot of the times there's a bunch left over. Now you're going to gently stir it. You want to get all of the dry flour patches and make sure that the sour cream is evenly incorporated, but you do not want to overmix this. In order to get your beautiful, light, fluffy, airy, you actually want it to be a little bit chunky. Again, we're just trying to get out all the flour, dry patches, and all of the sour cream. It will still look a little bit lumpy when it is done. So like right now, I'm getting to the point where no more sour cream, no more flour. It is perfect to go ahead and scoop. So With a medium size ice cream scoop, you want to fill it up, push it against the side of the bowl to level it off, and then scoop it onto a parchment lined baking sheet. You should get about 10 to 11 biscuits if you did it right. It is so important to make sure you're actually leveling the edge off. Otherwise, you're going to have biscuits that are too big, which isn't a big deal, but it does affect the baking time and you're going to have less biscuits. Make sure when you're getting to the end that you scrape everything out of that bowl. A lot of the times what's left at the bottom, you can actually make an entire other biscuit with. You'll see me do that here in a second. So get whatever is left on the side of the rubber scraper, fill it up, level it off, pack it, and we should be able to get one more out of the end of that. So as y'all know, nothing goes to waste in my class. Also, you cannot put that batter down the sink. That could cause a clog, so get every little bit out. Use the side of the rubber scraper, put some pressure on it, scrape it off. See, we filled it up and we can get one more biscuit. In a 425-degree preheated oven, bake the biscuits for 15 to 16 minutes. While the biscuits are baking, we're going to make honey butter. Take about an even amount of honey and butter, maybe a little bit extra honey, melt it in the microwave until it should be smooth. Mix it really well. When the biscuits are done, they should be golden brown on top, just like this. If they're not golden, they're not ready yet. So when we break them apart, the outside's crispy and the middle is nice and soft and moist. Take your honey butter, let them cool for a couple minutes, and then brush with a pastry brush or basting brush over the top. Now you do want to eat them pretty quick after they are brushed, otherwise it'll just absorb and get soggy. As you can see here, again, beautifully moist and soft on the inside, crispy, buttery on the outside. Enjoy!